There's been a battle between the AR-15 platform with the accuracy versus the reliability and the durability of the AK-47, not including the caliber difference between 5.56 and 7.62 by 3.9. A lot of debate over the past 50 years. I mean, it's been just back and forth. And there have been a lot of options offered, whether it's the AR-15 in 7.62 by 3.9 or even 300 Blackout, 6.8 SPC, and other calibers to get better ballistics and yet keep that really ergonomic AR-15 feel. And because of course, a lot of guys, especially here in the US, are very familiar with the AR-15 platform, including a lot of vets. Now with that said, CMMG has just released, in fact they released it December 2014, the Mark 47 Mutant. And this is a hybrid. In fact, it was built from the ground up to actually have the AR-15 feel with all the great features of an AR-15 and yet accept AK-47 mags. Now the great thing about that is the AK-47 magazine, which is obviously a curved magazine which allows for the tapered case. But AK-47, especially in the steel configuration, is very inexpensive to shoot. So this gives you kind of the best of both worlds. And this is not the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle variation. Now there are a number of different reviews that have already been shown on YouTube. And in fact, there's some very good ones out there. But one thing that I like to do personally, whenever I'm trying to decide on a firearm, is to watch as many reviews, read as much on the forums and the blogs, and find out really the skinny on these rifles. Now I want to safety check the gun, so we're going to release the magazine, go ahead and pull the bolt back, and the weapon is clear. Of course, using standard AK magazines is huge. A lot of the different adaptations to the 7.62 by 3.9 for an AR-15, the magazines are hard to find and they can be expensive. This comes with a PMag from Magpul in the AK version. So very high quality magazines, but any of your steel magazines will fit just fine and work fine. I've used a number of different type magazines in this rifle with no problems. And one of the things I'll say right up front is that I have had zero malfunctions with this rifle. Not one. And I have had this rifle probably about 2 months, have taken it to the range a number of times. We've shot it fast, we've shot it for accuracy, we've done a lot of testing with it. One of the things about it, when I first got it was, well, you know, it's just an AK-47 and an AR-15. After taking it to the range, my whole perception of this rifle changed. To kind of, yeah, it's new, I'm looking forward to reviewing it, I always like something new. But there are very few things that really trip my trigger, and this is one of them. Now it looks AR-15-esque, especially without the magazine. Of course, the absence of your mag well right here that's standard with your AR. There's no forward assist, and the magazine does come up solidly up top. It does fit just like a standard AK magazine with that little hook. As you can see, the mag release is ambidextrous, has little paddles on the side, but it is very large, so it's really easy to get to. Whether you use your thumb here, or you take your standard magazine and release it this way. One of the big things about the AR-15 is it is easy to add accessories without doing a whole lot. Because of the Picatinny rail system that's inherent with all the flat top AR-15s and with all the handguard accessories. This is the RKM CMMG Handguard. It's very thin, it's key mod. You have key mod accessories for 3, 6, and 9 o'clock. You have a Picatinny rail system that runs exactly from the top of the upper receiver all the way down close to the end. This gives you a lot of real estate to apply optics or any kind of accessories you want to put on here. Obviously aftermarket sights, which really give you a lot of advantage with the AR platform over the AK. Now I've added some of the Magpul M-Bus sights. It comes sight ready. You don't have the sights on here, but you can put whatever you want to, whether you put the Pros, the M-Bus, Troy, whatever you want to put. And then you can put any kind of optic, red dot, you know, any kind of scope. One of the things too that's really nice is that the handguard fits right up to the upper receiver. There's no gap. This just gives you continuous railing all the way down. Now the SV muzzle brake from CMMG is very effective. It has holes here at the top to keep the muzzle rise from happening. It's got a nice wide ports, and it just really keeps recoil management down. In fact, we were shooting this rapid and slow, and it was a very manageable recoil system. This really helps with the 7.62, which can be just a little bit jumpy, and so this really keeps you on target. Now, under the free float handguard, you have a 16.1 inch barrel. It's a medium tapered profile. It's 4140 steel. It's going to give you very good service life. It is nitride finished inside and out. And the barrel has 6 groove rifling. Now, this does have the direct impingement gas system and not the piston driven like your typical AK-47. That's going to give you really more of a feel of your standard AR-15 to me. The way the operating rod and the AK functions, it gives you a different recoil pulse. With the direct impingement, you're getting the same feel as you do with the AR-15. Both the upper and lower receiver are 70-75 T6 aluminum, which is really good and strong. It does feature the Magpul Mo grip. Of course, you can replace this with any of your grips that fit the AR-15 system. Also, you have your safety lever right here, or your fire control. And one of the things about this is that you can change this out to an ambi or whatever that you would typically use in your AR-15 rifle. Now, the Mutant T model comes with your standard collapsible stock system, just your mil-spec stock system. The AKM model comes with the CTR, and the AKM2 also with the CTR stock with the lockable right here from Magpul. This is one of my favorite stock systems because of this locking ability, plus it's thin and trim. But you can get any stock to fit on this receiver extension tube. So it's your standard AR-15 receiver extension or buffer tube. You have your standard charging handle right here. This is proprietary though to the Mutant. It's a mid-sized charging handle, a little bit larger than the 5.56, not quite as large as the 7.62 by 51 or 308. This is going to come into play too as far as what you're going to be doing, because one of the things about the Mutant is there is no last round bolt hold open, just like your standard AK. You can replace the followers with followers that will hold the bolt open, which I definitely recommend, because this is a small little charging handle. One of the things you can do is to put an extended latch here, which will solve a lot of your problems. But you're not going to be able to put one of the BCM Gunfighter or other really high-end extended charging handles, which I personally really love the Gunfighter. And maybe the Gunfighter will produce something like this, BCM, in the future. But as far as right now, all you're going to be able to do is to replace the latch. That's really important because, again, there is no bolt hold open. So every time you finish a magazine, you're going to have to use your charging handle to charge your rifle. Of course, you have your takedown pin and your pivot pin, just like the AR-15. Push it through. You can open up the receiver to be able to look in, do any maintenance or cleaning. And then, of course, the takedown pin, or the pivot pin, I should say. Pull it out, and it comes right off. If you'll notice right here, there's a steel pin, and that's going to help, especially when you're using steel AK magazines. Lock it into place. Being able to remove this back and forth is going to save this aluminum, because this would wear out with this kind of system. With the AR-15, of course, you have your standard mag release that's connected to the magazine, and it's steel. So this is just their answer to that issue. Here you can see the buffer tube is labeled MK47. This is proprietary. It's going to have to be a little heavier than your 5.56. Bolt carrier group comes out just like standard. Now the MK47 bolt carrier group right here, and then we have a standard M16 or AR-15 bolt carrier group. You can see immediately the difference. Much beefier, much stronger than the AR-15 bolt carrier. And here we have the 308 bolt carrier group. You can see that it matches it much closer than it does the 5.56. And so this really gives you a lot of strength with the pressures and the tapered round of the 7.62 by 3.9. And then here at the bottom is your 7.62 by 3.9 standard AR-15 bolt carrier. Very similar to your 5.56 and completely different than your Mark 47. With the bolts facing us, this is the 308 bolt carrier group. Then we have the Mutant 7.62 by 39 bolt carrier group. Here we have your standard AR 7.62 by 39. And then we have your 5.56. You can see that the Mutant really closely relates to the standard 308 bolt carrier. It's beefy, it's got thick lugs, very heavy. Of course, your carrier, we've already looked at that, how thick it is, compared to a standard AR 7.62 by 39, which has been milled out to accommodate the 7.62 by 39 round compared to your 5.56. So you're getting very beefy lugs here, which honestly this is an overkill, but yet it's going to be really strong, really durable, and it's going to be able to handle the tapered cartridge of the 7.62 by 39. Here you can see that the diameter of the bolt itself is really closely related to the 308. Here, very similar with 7.62 and 5.56. The 308 charging handle compared to the Mark 47 Mutant charging handle, and then we have your standard 5.56, which is also used for the 7.62 by 39 AR-15. You can see that the handle itself is larger. Of course, that accommodates the upper receiver of the Mutant, but it's not quite as long as your 308. This is going to make this proprietary for the Mutant. Now the Mutant also says that it has a mid-size upper receiver. This is 7 3/4 inches compared to your 308, which is 8.5 inches in length. So you've got a little smaller length than you do with the 308. But to house that bolt carrier group, it has still those beefy dimensions of the 308 upper receiver. One of the things that really surprised me about the Mutant is its accuracy. Of course, it shouldn't really surprise me considering this is based on the AR-15 platform. But for the 7.62 by 39 round, really it performed very well. This was the very first 3-shot group. Just right here, one jagged hole. I moved it down, and this is actually a 6-shot group. I was pulling a little bit, a couple of shots, but all 4 rounds right here. Here's another small 3-shot group with one to the side, and then this was one of the final groups at 50 yards. Just one jagged hole of 6 rounds, and then this one on the outside, which is about a 1/2 inch. Now for the accuracy test, we were using the Leatherwood Hilux CMR 1x24 scope. This is an illuminated reticle optic. It's excellent. I have owned this scope for about 6 years, and I really love this little optic. This one's actually made for 223 as far as its bullet drop compensator. I do have one of the 7.62 CMRs, but I have it on my 300 blackout, and I have it already sighted in. But I knew this would handle what we were getting ready to do. Unfortunately, we were going to shoot 100 yards as well, and we just ran out of time. But I think the group shown at 50 yards will still exemplify what this rifle is capable of just at 4 power.
From taking the new CMMG rifle and in 7.62 by 39 and shooting it, my first initial impression with this rifle is it is definitely not an AK. It's got a good trigger, the sights are good, it's got a long handguard on it, a good muzzle brake. The trigger on the gun it's got a really good factory mil-spec trigger. The bolt release, me being a lefty, I like the fact that it's got the extended paddles on both sides, so it's easy to get to the release. The safety, standard AR-15 controls, grip angle, standard AR-15 controls. The mag well on the gun is kind of reminds me of a FAL a little bit, the way it's undercut and cut out. It's really easy to get the magazines into the rifle and load the magazines or reload the rifle. Overall, it's just a really nice shooting rifle.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, the CMMG Mark 47 Mutant has 3 different variations. There's the T model, which pretty much has standard furniture with a basic A2 flash suppressor, and that is full retail at $14.99. Then you have the AKM version, which you see here with the CTR Magpul stock, Magpul furniture, and the SV CMMG Muzzle Break. Retails for $1649.95. And then the top of the line is the AKM2, which is just like this one, except that it has a Geisley trigger, which is a 2-stage SSA trigger. which is exceptional. Really, the prices reflect the upgrades pretty much in the different features. And they also carry the CMMG Lifetime Quality Warranty, which is a full warranty for the lifetime of the rifle. But you can also find these at different dealers around. I know that Brownells carries a lot of the CMMG parts and other companies. The street price obviously is going to be less, especially once these really hit the market. But I think if you're really looking for a 7.62 by 3.9 in an AR style platform, I think that the Mutant is really going to fit the bill. Just an excellent rifle, built very solid from the ground up, a true hybrid AR-15, AK-47 rifle that really is the best of both worlds. Both the AR-15 and the AK-47 have been proven worldwide. And CMMG with the Mutant taking both of the advantages of both of these rifles and combining it into one system, CMMG, thumbs way up. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. First thing I want to do is go ahead and release the mag. Now we have the 308 bolt. Now we have the 308 charging handle, the Mutant Mark 40. But this still has a lot of the beefy cape. But this also, to house that bolt carrier group, this still retains the beefy, and putting them into a really robust, very hardy rifle.
Hang on a second.